Hi, I'm Dan Hass. Thanks for checking in on my story. Likely, your first question, even if you're unaware of it, is why should you care about my situation, let alone provide financial support? So maybe you shouldn't, but here's what I would ask you to do. Imagine an America where if your neighbor has an issue with you, maybe you are cutting across his lawn and he doesn't want you on his property. Maybe you're driving too fast in the neighborhood. He wants you to stop it. Maybe you let your grass grow too high before you cut it. He doesn't like the way that it affects the neighborhood. Whatever the reason. Imagine an America where when your neighbor has a problem with your behavior, they drag you directly into court and prosecute you directly. Doesn't go through the city attorney or county attorney or district attorney, but your neighbor himself drags you into court, impanels a jury, and prosecutes you directly. And if you're found guilty, it's not a matter of damages or change of behavior. You are sent to jail. Right? That is the situation that we're dealing with here. And let me reiterate, we're not talking about convincing the state or city or some other government entity that what you've done is wrong and is an offense to the public, and then having them take you to court to put you in jail. We're talking about your neighbor directly taking you to court to have you put in jail. Also, we're not talking about having your neighbor trying to get you to change your behavior, like trying to get an order in place so that you will correct your behavior that he disagrees with, or even seeking damages as a consequence of your behavior. We're saying, no, your neighbor wants you put in jail. They think what you've done is wrong, and they want you put in jail, and they are going to drag you into court directly and with the intent, and only the intent, of having you put in jail. That is the situation we're in. So I'm going to be very careful to avoid opinions here. Right? I'm going to strictly stay within the elements of my situation that are not a matter of dispute, that there's no one controverting it. So here we go. In 2016, I made a mistake in my child support. And the elements of that mistake are, I have no problem sharing, but they're not really relevant. And they are a matter of dispute. But the elements of that, but what is not in dispute is that as soon as I was aware of the mistake, I corrected the child support situation. And since at least 2017, have been completely current, at times even in a pretty significant state of overpayment of child support. Right? No one disputes that. No one is arguing that I am behind in child support, or that I have been behind in child support, or even incorrect. Well, I've been in a state of overpayment, so you could say I was incorrect. But no one is arguing that I've been in a state of failure to pay child support or behind in child support since at least 2017. Despite that, right? Despite the fact that in January of 2020, no one was making the assertion that I was behind in child support, Judge Julie Doss in Tulsa, Oklahoma, allowed my ex-wife's attorney, Mark Lyons to bring me into her court accused of criminal indirect contempt of court. And because I was not behind in child support, the only possible outcome would be fines and imprisonment, incarceration. And Judge Doss and Mark Lyons agree. They're like, yeah, when we went to court, no one was asserting that you needed to pay any more child support or change your behavior or anything. Everyone agrees that you were current in your child support and that the only outcome of a guilty verdict would be that you would be punished. And so Judge Doss allowed that to happen, allowed my ex-wife's private attorney to prosecute me in front of her bench, in her court, in her bench, where the only possible outcome would be that I would be fined or incarcerated. So I was found guilty in January of 2020. I served, January 2020. I served, I was sentenced to 45 days in jail. I served 7 days. In less than 3 days, the Oklahoma State Supreme Court looked at the circumstances and issued a writ of habeas corpus, which Judge Doss was aware of and deliberately instructed the Oklahoma or the Tulsa County Jail to ignore. And then finally, after 7 days, a writ of mandamus was issued and I was released. Then since then, I've been in appeals, right? Like I was released on an appeal bond pending appeal, and I've been pursuing those appeals ever since. So appeals are hard, they're long, they're expensive. I'm now 2 years into this appeal. I'm tens of thousands of dollars in debt to my attorneys, as well as I've had to carry some of that debt personally in order to keep the appeal going. And I'm really kind of at the end of what I can financially do there. I've got to have some financial support to continue this effort. And so that's why I'm here. And let me reiterate, if this appeal fails, if Judge Doss's trial and sentence is not overturned by the Oklahoma State Supreme Court, it means that, at least in Oklahoma, a private citizen can drag another private citizen into court with the sole purpose of having them punished with fines and incarceration. If you don't think that's a good idea, if you like, no, I don't want that judgment in place. I don't want that trial and outcome in place, because that would be very bad for Oklahoma if every random citizen could drag every other random citizen into court for the sole purpose of having them put in jail. Then it's probably in everyone's best interest that you chip in some to this GoFundMe to cover my costs of continuing this appeal. I will gladly engage anyone on the subject matter. You can feel free to contact me in whatever channel is convenient for you. And I appreciate your attention and ask that you please don't hesitate to engage me if that is something that you're inclined to do.